so we are back, and I apologize for the technical difficulties, but technology, it happens. But I definitely did not want you to miss any of what Tamika had to say. Once again, I'm Shannon. I started this support group, online support group, Parents Pushing Past Their Grief. It's a community designed for parents, grandparents, and siblings to come feel safe to talk and work through their grief. Today we have Tamika Maclin, and I'm gonna let her tell you about herself. And then we're gonna just get into a discussion about the 7 stages of grief. So Tamika, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, so I am Tamika Maclin. I'm a certified life coach and author. I also have an organization, She Rose Western New York, and that stands for See Her Elevate Rising Over Setbacks Every Day. And I help women to start their healing journey after dealing with, well, I help women who are ready to start their healing journey, after dealing with a traumatic experience, usually death of a child or some type of sexual assault. But I do work with other people who struggle dealing with traumatic experiences and need to start their healing journey.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Tamika has something in common with me and others in this group. We are parents who have lost a child. Um, and talk about Lanasia. That's a beautiful name, by the way. Lanasia is her daughter, and tell us first who Lanasia is before telling us what happened to Lanasia.
Right. So now that we're starting over, she was definitely individual, especially when you said that was a beautiful name, because I wanted to change her name to Lana. And she was like, absolutely not. I'm Lanasia, and that's who I'm going to be. I'm already who she is. We're not changing my name. So she always embraced who she was, name and all. Um,
Wonderful.
she loved God. She was very joyous. She was goofy. She loved to laugh. She loved to make you laugh. She loved to cook. She loved to eat. She played basketball very good, and she ran track very well. Oh, and she loved to draw too. One of her drawings made the school calendar one year. I think she was in, I don't know what year that was, but one of her drawings made the school calendar. So she loved to draw. Very talented. And um, I always remember how joyous she was. She always wore a smile on her face, and how goofy she could be. Oh, and I always remember, if I feel like I'm in a spooky area or something like that, she used to love to scare me. She used to jump out of corners and scare me. I always remember that, and it makes me laugh often. So
That's wonderful. So, walk us through what happened to Lanasia.
okay, so September 1st, 2013, Lanasia snuck out the house, and she caught herself going to a party, things that children do. I woke up that morning and she was not there. And I asked her sister where she was, and she said she didn't know. I assumed she went to church with her grandmother, but she didn't, because when her grandmother got home, um, Lanasia wasn't with her, but she went to church every Sunday. Um, so that's when I alerted my husband and my sister, and basically the whole family. And from there, my sister, she started a search group, her and my husband, and they began to search for Lanasia. And I went out, I think on the second day I went out, the second and the third day. And we searched for Lanasia for 3 days. And we put flyers up and things like that. And then September 3rd, the police called us on the phone and they said, do not come in this area. We're taking over this area. If you come over here, you'll go to jail. Um,
Wow.
Later that night, we got a telephone call about 11 o'clock, and somebody was yelling in the phone, and they said, they found your daughter. So when we drove right around the corner from where we lived at, it was a crime scene. And I remember not wanting to go down there. And there was so many people there. And before I knew it, my whole family and everything was there too. And then they would not let me identify her that night when they found her. They did verify that it was a young lady, and there was rumor of someone being stabbed. And I did ask, was she stabbed, and they did confirm that. So I knew in my heart it was my daughter, but I had to go and confirm it was her the next morning at the morgue. And because it was so gruesome, they gave me a picture to look at,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to verify that that was my child, laying on that silver coat table, um, who was murdered, who laid in the garage for 3 days,
Wow.
dead.
Wow. I, as a parent who's lost a child, I still can't imagine how you feel. Um, and that leads us right into the first stage of grief, the
Hmm.
shock and denial. Um,
Hmm.
and this is a state of disbelief and a numb feeling.
Hmm.
Talk to me about when you either saw the picture or when you knew that your daughter was gone. Talk to me about that.
So when I looked at the picture, I throughout the whole process, my eyes was closed. And when the lady touched my hand, I opened up my eyes, and she had the picture in front of me. And I opened up my eyes, and I really could only verify her. I couldn't even look at her whole face. I could verify her. She had this scar on her, right above her eyebrow, because she had ran into the wall at gym,
Mm,
and our lips are pretty big, so she had lips like me. So, and I looked at her mouth, and I knew it was her. And at that time, I was numb. I just closed my eyes and I said, "That's my baby," and that's all I remember. I remember walking out the morgue. I was still numb. I was in disbelief. I really don't remember a lot of went on during that time. Um, I was zoned out. I wasn't using any drugs or anything. I was just zoned out. I was zoned out from time to time. It was like I wasn't even here. Um, and the first time I think I came out of shock and disbelief is when a family friend came over and she hugged me so tight, and it hit me that my daughter was gone. And I
mm,
remember crying. And soon after that, I went back into a zone, um, of unbelief and not knowing what was going on. And I was probably zoned out majority of the time. I couldn't eat. I could barely sleep. Um, I didn't make it, the funeral arrangements. My family, my in-laws, they made the arrangements for me. They helped make the arrangements. They went out and they purchased the clothes. They purchased the clothes that we wore. Um, and they did a lot for me. They really helped me up, but I was still in shock and disbelief. And I was just really out of it during that time. And I remember sometimes my mother-in-law would say to me, she would snap her finger and she said, "Don't go into that place. You got to come out of that." But I didn't know where I was going. So,
yeah, yeah.
hmm.
And I truly can relate to that.
Hmm.
My son Brian was killed in a car accident. And I recall going to, we got a call 5:30 in the morning.
Hmm.
Um, they wouldn't tell us anything, just you need to come to the hospital. And as me and my husband are getting dressed, it's like I knew.
Hmm.
It was something in me that I knew. I didn't want to say it.
Verbalize
I
it.
didn't
Yeah.
want to verbalize it, but in my heart, I knew. And then
Hmm.
when we got there, the one thing that stuck out in my mind was the doctor. She was a pregnant doc. She was pregnant. Looked like she
Hmm.
was ready to give birth, about 9 months pregnant. And all I could think about at that time was this woman's about to give birth and she's sitting here, she's bringing someone into this world, but she's about to tell me that my son has left this world.
Wow.
And that was just, I relived that exact moment for
Wow.
months,
Hmm.
over and over. Everything else was a blur. I don't remember. And I did most of the arrangements. I eulogized my son. I did everything. But
Wow.
to sit down and tell you who is there and this and that, I was like, I
Yeah.
was operating automatically.
Right.
Like I was just, in a zone. Like you
Hmm.
said, I was zoned
Yeah.
out. I was functional because I handled
Yeah.
the arrangements. I wrote his eulogy. I did everything,
Wow.
but there was no real remembrance of things.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely that goes into that shock and denial stage.
Yeah. Definitely.
Next stage is pain and guilt. And when we talk about pain and guilt, it's the pain and guilt you feel when you're talking about your child after he's gone and you feel like you're imposing upon other people.
Hmm.
I definitely went through that. Talk to me about the pain and guilt. Did you go through that? And if you did, elaborate on it a little.
I definitely went through the pain and guilt stage. And I think sometimes, even today, I still go through the pain and guilt. I would feel guilty about speaking about her. I'm guilty about having certain feelings. Um, I used to hate when people used to pity me because I felt like I wasn't deserving of that. I felt guilty when people, I don't want to say pitied me. I don't know what word to use, but I just felt like they shouldn't. Like, I felt guilty on that. And it would get to the point where people will post things on social media about my daughter, not saying anything negative about her, but because the tension was on me, I will feel guilty because of that. Um, and sometimes that still comes up. I still feel guilty sometimes about speaking about her. So I do speak about her often, but I speak about her, in crowds where people want to hear it, or in crowds where I think people would definitely understand and try to. Hopefully, when I speak to them, I speak to them in hopes that they'll start to heal, and let them know that it's life after that. And then I think that's all. And I speak about it with close friends, but sometimes I still have that pain and that guilt just talking about her.
And this was the main purpose of me creating this group.
Hmm.
This is a place where I encourage the parents that are a part of this group. Talk about your child.
Hmm.
Post pictures of your child. This is a safe place because you're amongst people that, and I tell people often, I've lost my mother like two years before my son.
Hmm.
Broke my heart, but it was not the same pain.
Yeah. Hmm.
And
Yeah.
some people really don't understand. Losing a child is a whole different pain, an
It.
indescribable pain. And I tell people, you
Mhm.
can't understand what I've gone through unless you've
Right.
walked through it. And I don't want you to have to experience this type
Yeah.
of pain. And
Right.
you can't understand it unless you've experienced it.
Right.
So that was the purpose of this group, for us to be able to talk to one another, share
Hmm.
our memories, cry if we have to, laugh if we have to, because we all understand that
Right.
indescribable pain.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel the same way. The pain was indescribable. It felt like it's something set in my soul. And I cannot, there aren't words to form how I felt.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely understand that.
Hmm.
Um, Stage number three is anger and bargaining.
Hmm.
Um, did you find yourself, me personally, I did find myself bargaining with God,
Hmm.
questioning God.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm gonna be honest, I felt bad at first until I spoke to my pastor. I was angry with God.
Hmm.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
I go to church. I'm a Christian. I'm not perfect. We're
Hmm.
all sinners saved by grace.
Yes, I
But
agree.
in the same breath, why me?
Yes.
Why me? Someone who's trying to devote her life to you, and this happens. And it was a struggle. There was a lot of bargaining.
Hmm.
Um, and this may sound crazy, but at that time, I wasn't thinking straight. I recall myself bargaining. Could you just give me another 15, 20 minutes to say some things to him I didn't get a chance to say, knowing that that was not possible. But in the same token, at that moment, I wanted God to tell me something, you know?
I and it does not sound crazy because there have been times where I've been like, God, I just need to talk to her. Like, I need to see that. Like, bring her to me in my dream, please, so we can have a conversation. And I definitely was at that point too. I definitely was angry at God for a moment. I couldn't understand because throughout her life, many things was prophesied, and um, I thought for sure that something great, that God was going to use her for something great. She, to me, it just seemed like she stood out. And when she was murdered at 13, I'm like, God, this what you have for me? I did all of this, and this is what you have for me. I was so upset at him. I would question him every day, every day, and I had no understanding. And I bargained with God for a while, and then after a while it stopped, and then the pain just felt unbearable. I was still dealing with that pain years later, and the
Yeah.
thing about it is, people would say, "Hey, you're so strong. How do you deal with this?" And that God, that was definitely God. It wasn't me.
Amen.
I was just a shell walking on this earth. But about 3 years later, I began to pray and I began to bargain again. I would get on my knees. God, do something, take this pain away. I will bargain with him with anything. But through that bargaining, it took me to another stage of dealing with my
Okay.
grief.
All right. Yeah. I definitely hear where you're coming from. Um,
Mm-hmm,
Next stage after that is stage 4, which is depression.
mm-hmm,
Um, Talk to me. I personally, um, I don't feel like I got depressed. Someone, if I went to see someone, they might feel differently.
mm-hmm. Right.
I think I was angry, trying to understand the pain, that type of thing, but I don't know that it was really depression. But talk to
Right.
me about that stage. Did you go through depression? How did you feel when it came to your mental capacity?
Mm-hmm. So I don't think that I was depressed at all. And just like you say, some people may have thought that. The doctors definitely told me, the doctors definitely tried to tell me, I don't know how you're doing this. You're depressed. You need this medication. And I definitely don't feel like I was depressed. I did get well, I discovered at that time I had anxiety because I worried so much about um, my other children and things like that. So I did discover that I got anxiety at that during that time, and it got worse. But I didn't directly deal with any type of depression. Um, but the doctors would have, the doctors. Well, I saw an emergency room doctor, and then my primary was like, "You are definitely depressed. You buried your child at 13, and this horrible thing happened." And I was like, "I'm not. We know our bodies."
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, and depressed I wasn't, but I did suffer from anxiety for a while.
Okay.
Quite a while.
Now, stage number 5 is the upward turn. And that's described as a point. At this point, the stages of grief, like anger and pain, have died down, and you're
Mm-hmm,
left in a more calm and relaxed state. Um,
mm-hmm.
so, talk to me about the upward turn for you. Have you
Okay.
gotten there? And if you have, what does that consist of for you?
So I definitely got there after that bargaining stage. After a while, um, I got to the upward stage, and that consisted of me a lot of prayer. I started out with a lot of prayer on my knees, with my face down across the floor, releasing a lot, crying a lot, just releasing because I held so much in for so long. I needed to be able to release that. So I cast on my cares upon God because that's what I know how to do. And I
Yeah.
did a lot. And then I began to meditate and do affirmations. And I also went to therapy.
Okay.
I felt like I needed someone to talk about, talk to.
Yeah, and I think that leads into stage 6, the
Hmm.
reconstruction and working through.
Hmm.
Now, for you, you talk about therapy. Share with me, because I think in our community, we tend to stay away from the therapy. It has a
Hmm.
stigma on it, and we can
Yeah.
work through it. And, and as women, we're strong, dependent, we can do this. And unfortunately, I fell into that category. I don't, I can't say what therapy would have done for me personally, but
Mhm.
talk to me about what therapy did for you.
So I'll say this first. All of those things that you mentioned, we think that we're strong and things like that. And it's definitely something that people in our community don't want to do. Um, you're still that same person. You just come out a little bit better. Therapy helped me really talk through some things with the therapist. Release more, because I thought I released it all, but I didn't. But release more. It really was life changing for me. I really can't explain everything, but it definitely was life changing for me. And it helped me on my new chapter in life. It made me own the truth of what happened to my daughter, um, and be able to face it. I really had to sit in it. Um, it made me rehash some things, but it began to um, just really help start that healing process. And I don't want to say I'm 100% healed, because there are days that I go through stuff.
I know.
um I just deal with it differently, so therapy also helped me realize that I like to talk about what's going on to other grieving mothers, what happened to me, to other grieving mothers, to help them start their healing journey, so they won't have to feel like, what steps do I need to take, or what, so they don't have to feel alone, and just let them know, hey, therapy is okay for you to go through. Going to God is okay. But sometimes we need that therapy while we're going to God too.
Yeah, yeah,
It helps
abs-
you work through a lot of things.
absolutely.
Hmm.
And then that takes us into stage 7, which is acceptance and hope. This is a
Hmm.
very gradual acceptance of the new way of life and a feeling of possibility in the future. And when I first was looking at the 7 stages, before looking at it, and I saw acceptance and hope, I was like, wait a minute, wait, acceptance? How do you accept this?
Yeah.
I don't believe as a parent we accept it. We learn how to live with it.
Live with it.
So,
Yes, I agree.
and that's kind of what it said, because all I saw is acceptance, and I just
Right.
went like, hold on, acceptance? You want me to accept this? But I
Right.
think what they mean here is to accept your new way of life.
Yes.
You have to find a way to go on, and how whatever steps work for you to help
Hmm.
you put one foot in front of the other to
Yeah.
go on. So
Yeah.
talk to me about that stage, acceptance and hope for you.
So yeah, like you said, well, the way you explained it is really just, I have learned to live with it. I have learned to face my truth. Um, and I I do certain things based around her, just to honor that she, actually was here. Um, so have I accepted that she's gone? No, but I definitely have a different way of living, because of that. Um, and it's not as bad as it used to be.
Okay.
Holidays and things like that. Um, Because in the beginning, I'm just like, I can't do this. I'm not showing my face nowhere. You want me to do what? No, I'll stay.
Yeah.
You don't want to be bothered. But I definitely have learned to accept that. Um, that I had to write a new story. I had to rewrite my story. She may not be here, but she's still a part of our life. But I've,
Absolutely.
mhm.
Absolutely. Okay. So we've walked through the 7 stages, but I want to go back to anger.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for me, the young lady that was driving that car for quite a while, I was angry at her. It
Mm-hmm.
was like I needed someone to put that anger on. You know what I'm saying? And she was the one. I was
Yeah.
mad because to this day I've never seen the girl. She's never reached out to me.
Wow.
Um, that killed me. Like you're responsible. Even if it was an accident, you were behind the wheel of that
Right.
car.
Say
You know,
sorry.
so it took. I'm not at that place any longer.
Mm-hmm.
It took me a moment to get to where I am, and I always said, if she came to me today, I would probably embrace her, give her a hug, because that was his friend.
Mm-hmm.
I know she didn't intend to kill my son. So I had to get past that anger and move on to the stage of forgiving her.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
now, for me, and I'm gonna let you speak, but for me, I would think that in my circumstances, that was easier to do.
Mm-hmm.
In your circumstances, your daughter was violated in the worst way.
Yeah.
Um, question one: did they ever catch the person?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, they did. Mm-hmm.
Where are you? And I know this is a difficult question, but where are you with your anger at that person, or have you been able to forgive that person? And I know a lot of people watching may say, forgive them. Forgiveness is not for that person.
Nope, it's for
Forgiveness
you.
is for you in
Mm-hmm.
order for you to move on. So I want to make that clear when I
Mm-hmm.
when I say have you forgiven them. So
Mm-hmm.
talk to me about the anger and the forgiveness.
So I'll say this. For some reason, I felt like forgiving people, period, is something that has always been built up inside of me, no matter how bad something has been. I did experience anger. I experienced anger, but they found him so quickly. At times, I experienced anger to the point where I was like, I want somebody to do to him exactly what he did to her. And I'm sorry for saying it, but that's how I felt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes I would just say, you know, well, what made him do that? So sometimes I was very angry, and it came in spurts. And I think when I walked through the courtroom, first of all, when we went to trial, they had to get permission from him to allow me to sit through trial to make sure he did not feel uncomfortable.
Oh wow.
Hmm.
Mm.
So for the first day, I was the first witness, but for the first day, they had me locked up in a room, and they had to get permission from him. So I came off the witness stand, and I had to go back in that room until he said it was okay for me to come in there. So he gave me permission to come in and sit through trial. And my family wasn't that easy to deal with, sitting in trial. And the first day I walked in there, I had a sense of forgiveness because I looked over at him, and to me something just did not seem right there. Like someone failed him.
Mm.
And I could feel you people say they did not people will say things, but I know what I felt. And I felt compassion from him, and I felt that he was sorry. He never picked his head up often, but I watched him often. And when he spoke about my daughter, because he finally got on the stand, but when he spoke about my daughter, and this may sound so crazy, he spoke about how beautiful of a person was.
Mm.
He was, and that he watched her for often, and he thought she was so beautiful. And that's what made me really feel like he may have done something that he did not want to do. Um, and this was a mistake that he made, and that he has to live with this mistake for the rest of his life. And I do too. But that's when I forgave him.
Wow.
Just sitting around watching him. Um, because it hurt to know what he did to my child, but it also hurt to watch him as well. And I just felt certain things from him, and the way he spoke about her. Some of the things that he spoke about her, I don't think that was his intention to.
Wow.
I don't
Well,
think that was.
let me say this. I
Mhm.
wish I was in the same room with you because I would give you the biggest hug right now. I would, because you know what? That ain't nobody but God working through you.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what you've done, that forgiveness piece, that is so hard to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
And listening to you, how compassionate you were, God bless you for that. God bless
Thank you.
you for that. And
Thank
I'm hoping with you sharing your story and other parents that may have dealt with something similar can hear this and find some hope to help them head towards that forgiveness path.
you. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because that's huge, because it helps you in the long run. Not so
Yeah.
much him,
Mhm.
it's you that gets help from that.
Exactly.
You're not
And
in bondage anymore with that feeling.
right. And I just feel like the last part, he has to answer to God for that. He has to live with that. And I that's honestly how I feel. Um and even at the end of the trial, I remember I gave his mom such a big hug, because I can't physically see my daughter. She may could see him through different ways and things like that. But I felt so bad for her. Um, I really felt bad for her. And I remember giving her a hug, because my family wasn't easy to deal with. And they probably nitpicked at her every day. And her friends will come with her, and her friends even turned their back on her.
Wow.
So they were like, "You raised a monster."
Wow.
And I feel bad for her, because through that process, she lost a lot.
Yeah.
She lost a lot too. Now she can physically see her son, but she lost a lot, friends and everything. So
Yeah.
I was just like, this is our journey. This is the journey that we go. This is the journey that we have to experience. So he has to answer to God. That's the, you know.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
I pray that I pray that he finds peace with himself, and that he will, hopefully find some type of different life, a positive lifestyle or something like that, come to Christ or do whatever he needs to do, but he's just not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. It like I said, that takes a lot. And you're right. Somebody failed him along the way. I'm not going to
Mhm.
say it was his mother,
Mhm.
because we can raise our children to the best of our abilities. When they
Absolutely.
grow up, they still have a mind of their own. You
Mhm.
pray
Mhm.
that they follow what you've instilled in them.
Mhm.
But yeah, somewhere along the line, he was failed. Um,
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
yeah, and thank God that God put it in your spirit to forgive him.
Yeah, I thank God too, because I don't know what it would look like to really be. Like I said, I had anger, I had spurts of anger, but I don't know how it will feel like to just harbor that anger in my heart.
Yeah,
Probably what.
it would eat at you, definitely.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, Tell us about, you talked about your organization, She Rose, in the beginning. Give us a
Mhm.
little more information about your organization, how people can contact you, and the services that you offer.
Okay. So this is what I really want to say. Since this is talking to grieving mothers, I just implemented a program called She Cares, the She Cares program, And this is a give back program to grieving mothers who have experienced, well, you know what you've experienced, but this is for grieving mothers. And what I want to do is I want to give back to mothers, and I'll be giving out my first basket on Wednesday.
All
So
right.
with one basket a month, but we want to give back to mothers who are grieving, and just give them something, because a lot of times, especially, after you lost a child, you have so many people around you in the very beginning, and then they
Oh,
begin to disperse and go, and it's felt like you're left alone. And I want to, it's like a support basket. So there are some things in there that will support them. Hey, I can journal this. I want to get comfortable. Here is some tea and a cup, just something to support them, just to say that, hey, we haven't forgot about you.
yes.
There is a team of people out here who love you and haven't forgot about you. So we start that program on Wednesday. I'll get our first basket out. And we are giving baskets out until February. So the next basket will be given out is in March. So you can go to our website at www.sherolesofwny.org, and you can nominate a mom. And then we will review it, and then we'll email you to let you know when um, we'll do that, when we'll drop the basket off. Um, Also, I'm a certified life coach. So what I do now is I help women um, who deal with traumatic experience. I teach them healing techniques to start their healing process, kind of like what I went through. I can only teach them something that I went through from experience. So I go through the meditation with them and things like that. And that's basically what I do. I have, well, pre-COVID, I have events that a sexual assault awareness meeting every year in April, um, to educate the community about sexual violence, because a lot of things that my daughter experienced um, was due to sexual violence. So I educate the community on sexual violence yearly, and we have a mother daughters retreat every year pre-COVID. Hopefully, that will come back, and that's about it. I'm an author of an ebook, and I also am a co-author of another book. And you can find those books on Amazon. You can just look me up by my name. And that's about all that I do. You can find me on social media: Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at She Rose WNY, and LinkedIn by my name, Tamika Maclin. And that's it.
All right. And she says, that's all I do.
It's
Humble.
not a
Yeah,
lot.
that's a lot. And I love that idea. Your she cares is what you call it, right? I love that idea because you hit you hit it right on the head. It's you are surrounded with people.
Mm-hmm.
And then after it's all said and done, I was blessed. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna tell you, I try to look at God, you didn't put me through this just for me to be in pain.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
has to be something from this. And um 2 months after my son died, I started a support group called Bereaved Parents of the USA.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what I got from that, from meeting other parents, is I was able to show other parents that there is hope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had parents that came into the group that just felt hopeless, like, how am
Mm-hmm.
I going to move on? And part of me starting the organization, part of me starting the support group is about showing other parents that, as painful as it is, there is hope. And that's what I want people to understand. That's what I want
Yeah.
parents to understand. There is hope. We can
Mm-hmm.
honor our children. We can celebrate our children, you
Yes.
know, and that's what I want people to do. So thank you for joining us this evening and sharing with us. And I'm hoping that those that watch this replay get a lot out of it and understand that there is hope. I
Yeah,
look forward to maybe us collaborating together sometime in the
absolutely.
future on some project. My brain is always spinning. So I do appreciate you sharing with us today.
Absolutely.
Um,
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate
Absolutely, yes. Before you go, what is the best advice that you can offer to a parent who's facing the loss of a child?
it. Honor your feelings. Whatever you're going through at that time, deal with it at that moment. If you feel like you need to cry, do it. If you feel like you need to laugh, do it. Um, so honor your feelings during this time because it does not get easier. But if you neglect those feelings, then those things, if you internalize those feelings, then they turn into something different. And make sure that you have a solid support system, someone who supports you when you need someone to talk to, because that is very important to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was blessed because my husband, we hugged, cried, talked, and he's always been my number one cheerleader.
Oh,
So yes, I mean, and if you're not married, find that cousin, find that sister, find someone who's gonna be there and hear you and listen to you. Because sometimes
yeah,
we just need someone to. Sometimes you don't even have to say anything.
right. Sometimes we just need somebody to
Yeah,
listen.
I just need
Sometimes,
you to listen or
right. We don't
hold or just,
read,
yeah,
right. And if
absolutely.
you don't have it, get a journal and write it down. That
Yes,
helped us every
yes,
night.
yes.
Mhm,
I created a journal. I'll post it in the group for those that may want it. What I started doing, because I felt like I had so much I wanted to say to my son, I started
mhm,
writing letters to him.
mhm. Oh wow.
It became very therapeutic for me.
Mhm,
And I created a journal. I just sent my mother-in-law one. My mother-in-law has joined this group.
mhm.
She lost her daughter,
Wow.
and it's been hard for her. And I've
Mhm,
been trying to encourage her, write down the things you would have wanted to say to your child. So I have a
mhm.
book. It's called Letters to Our Children. Um,
Oh,
and it's
wow.
a journal. Yeah, I'll post it in the group for those that may want it. But for me, and I'm an author. For those that don't know, I'm an author, so writing is something that I love to do. I'm not saying writing and journaling is for everyone,
Mhm.
but it really can be therapeutic.
Absolutely.
So I'll
I agree.
share that with the group.
Definitely,
Well,
because I want that. And I want to
yeah,
bless you with
I'll
that as
share it
well.
with the group. Definitely,
Thank you.
definitely. All right, everyone. This has been great. I thank you, Tamika.
Thank you.
I wish you the best as you continue. Thank you for being a part of the group.
Thank
Um,
you for having
yes, we will have more interviews like this next coming up after the holidays. We're going to have LaKendra Johnson. We're going to talk about infant loss.
me. Hmm.
So look for information about when that's gonna when we go live with that. Hopefully we'll go live. You know how technology is. But
Right.
I'm gonna sign out now. Thank you so much. And
Thank
Tamika,
you.
you have a blessed day, all right?
You keep rising over the setbacks every day. Have a great night.
Yes, indeed. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye bye now.